following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Tuesday, the 19th of January, 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,087.85 an ounce, silver $14.02 an ounce, Texas crude $29.42 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 375 U.S. currency. Today in history, Wednesday, January 19th, 1977, West Palm Beach reported snow for the first time on record, with snow flurries reaching as far south as Homestead and even the Bahamas. In recent news, the UN is set to set up processing centers in countries near to Central America where people will be allowed to apply for refugee status without having to pay smugglers to take them to the U.S. border. People granted refugee status may be resettled in the United States or other countries. In a recent release, the UN said, quote, "The international community is currently experiencing a flood of migrants from countries in crisis, with the number of forcibly displaced persons in the world now higher than it has been at any time since World War II. Also, according to the United Nations, almost 60 million people worldwide have been forced from their homes by conflict, persecution, general violence, or human rights violations. The global population of displaced people is growing at a faster rate than the general population." Researchers from Durham University have discovered what appears to be a massive canyon system beneath Antarctica's ice. Using satellite data, geologists have mapped out a system of canyons over 1,000 kilometers long, which is over twice the length of the Grand Canyon, with pits that reach up to a kilometer deep. They were located in the Princess Elizabeth Land region on the eastern side of the continent. The Texas Department of Public Safety, or DPS, has confirmed that a highway patrol trooper, Terry Lockridge, 33 years old, was arrested last week on charges of aggravated sexual assault of an underage girl. Mr. Lockridge has been with the DPS since September of 2009. Officials say that the case is still under investigation. The Lone Star Lowdown is currently looking for sponsors, so if you have a product or a service you'd like to advertise with us, feel free to give us a call at 210-363-2257. This has been your Lowdown for January 19th, 2016.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war. I'll be very blunt in my assessment.
Is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
True. Exposed. Radio.
We're always sliding in a little late on the tune here on the intro. Do enjoy you guys coming on board. This is Truth Exposed Radio. This lovely January 20th, 2016. And we are live, as usual, as always, 6 to 8 p.m. Feel free to call in 512-646-1984. Rick Rhoda here.
Cuddy Rowe.
Marshall Soul.
And we have quite a show planned. Indeed.
Definitely.
So much to talk about. Do you guys have a good week?
Yes, sir.
Relaxing.
Getting plenty of rest, staying inside, keeping out of that cold.
Info jamming.
Working. Hustling.
Yes, sir.
Don't remind my back.
Yeah, gotta stay afloat.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Hopefully you guys have also had, and gals have also had a wonderful weekend. Hopefully you had a great day at work, whether you're still on the clock or getting off. Hopefully you crack a cold one, and take off your boots and
hopefully didn't have to twerk too hard. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to make the cheddar these days. You know, it seems just the inflation rate doesn't keep up with the labor rate.
No, I mean, was it Walmart just had to lay off some they had to close a few stores, didn't they? 1% of their stores had to close a little bit of stores. I try to tell people, that's the way economics works.
So what, like maybe 40 employees lost their jobs? Like they don't have a whole lot of people working the
night shift. Night shift. You ever be there after 2? There's a lot of people stocking for sure. But we're definitely gonna break that down a little bit, and we're gonna be wrapping up the ultra controversial topic of Zionism.
Oh, you can't talk about that.
Are we gonna be wrapping it up? Or are we just gonna start scratching the surface?
Well, yeah, maybe we're not wrapping it quite yet, but we're boxing it. We're boxing it up.
Such a vast topic to get into.
It really is.
It really is. But before we get into it, LogosRadioNetwork.com, the network that is blasting this transmission at the moment, giving you this great lineup of shows, has a great lineup of sponsors. Definitely check out the website, LogosRadioNetwork.com. And, everything from non-GMO solution storable food, which is good for years.
Mm-hmm.
Years. No GMO, no preservatives, none of that nasty stuff. And GHC Global Healing Center, in case you've already ingested too many, carcinogens and nasty things.
Definitely.
Good detox, I've heard.
Yeah. Detox your gut, your liver, all kinds of things, your brain, everything.
And you shop through Amazon. Go through our site, delete your cookies, and definitely do your shopping through Amazon, whatever it is, books, school gear.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
You always get exactly what you want, right, when you go through Amazon.
Yep.
That's so true. Gold Savings Club, definitely check them out. You're carrying around little carrot bars of currency, guys. Little carrot bars of gold.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're at like a gram, I believe. But that's really neat. It's like a credit card that you pop these out, little mini bars. Really cool. And no lawyers, no problems. How to win in court, the proven way, the Michael Maris method.
Mm-hmm. We all could use that every now and then. I'm getting caught up with a man.
For sure. And of course, definitely check out the flagship show of the network and all the other great shows. Of course, Rule of Law.
Definitely. Eddie Craig. Yes, sir. Got to learn how to fight the power.
It's all about that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, that's
fight the servant.
Yeah.
And do have a new radio show to the lineup of the network, Be Brave Radio, hosted by Leland Freeman, John Bush from Brave New Books, of course, and Elizabeth Everett. Great show on Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., of course, on 90.1 FM.
Or is that 89.1?
Oh, yeah, did I say 90.1?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm thinking KSYM over here in San Antonio.
89.1.
My jazz is coming out like clockwork.
Sounds like a good show.
It is. They were killing it, and definitely check out all the great other lineup of shows. Truth News from Australia, the vaccine show, great information on vaccines. With Sean Siegel, that guy blowing my mind. Agenda 21 and World Report with Thomas Kiley. Good stuff, and of course, ourselves,
Truth Exposed,
the trio, and the other trio of the crypto show, Chris and Danny, and sometimes they got really cool people showing up. Actually, all the time they have really cool people showing up.
They really do.
Austin's just a melting pot of cool people, isn't it?
It's a nice little headquarters, nice little hub.
For sure. So we definitely appreciate any help that you guys can hand out. And for those of y'all that decide to hand out $25 or more, you get thrown into a nice little drawing, don't you?
Mm-hmm. That's a real nice drawing. Yeah, so definitely go to logosradionetwork.com and check out. You can see the ad for the drawing right in the middle of the page.
Yeah, definitely want to check out the first and second place for sure.
I won second place.
It's a nice farm.
He said he'll give up his first place for second place.
Exactly. The guys over at Central Texas Gunworks, they've put up a lot of nice items here for us. So for that Taurus Curve, that sleek pistol.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Check out
first place prize, that lower receiver for AR-15, that skull lower receiver. Oh, that thing looks so nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's like
that's a one of a kind that I've seen. I don't know.
Punisher / Spawn type of hybrid of something.
We're split on whether it'd be something for Punisher or Spawn, but I think Punisher would be more accurate.
Either way, something for some. It looks very aggressive.
And third prize gets a nice little vapor kit. So
yes, sir.
Cut the habit.
Yeah, cut the burning of the materials. Right, you got to get your vapor.
Hey, when technology allows for better consumption of different substances, right?
Yeah.
You got to take advantage of technology. It's like trying to cook rice without a pot or something. It ain't going to work.
Exactly. They got steamers for that now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nice and fluffy every time.
Yeah, perfect.
Man, I had to boil my rice.
Came out clumpy.
Yeah, no, it was just fine.
Stuck together.
Yeah,
don't lie.
It takes a couple of tries. Throwing it on the frying pan also helps too.
Just add butter
on the wok.
There you go. There you go. And this is, of course, this drawing is, of course, to keep the network going for the year, guys. This is a listener-sponsored network. And, any help that you guys can give, especially with this cool little drawing going on, give them back. So, and do appreciate it, guys. This is a family network, and it takes a team, and you guys are definitely part of the team. So do appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Because we're riding.
We're riding. Riders on the storm.
So Zionism, woof. Wait, before we jump into that, any further analysis on the Walmart closing, since that was brought up earlier?
Well, just the basic economics of it. I mean, people still want to. I saw this meme going around. They were sharing of the basket of groceries, and they're saying what you could get for $20 in like the 80s or 90s or something, and then and it goes down like a couple years, and it shows the basket a little smaller, and then it goes down. And people don't realize about the Federal Reserve. They're all talking about raising the minimum wage. And they don't know about the Federal Reserve. They don't know about inflation. It's not
that you need more money. It's you need to look at the value of your money.
Yeah.
The more money you put out there, the more it's going to inflate.
It's like, it reminds me of, when people say, cancer awareness. It's like you're trying to you don't want to fight the cause. You're trying to fight the symptoms. Like,
well, they look like
just give me a pill and my my
pharmaceuticals or whatever.
Smoothie.
Let me keep taking in the carcinogenic food and everything.
The sugars.
Like in the 70s, whenever minimum wage was, like $1.75 and whatnot, or actually in the 60s. Back then, it was silver, so it was actually had more value. It wasn't just fiat coin currency that's just nickel plated. It was actual silver.
I can see that.
You could get a haircut for a nickel.
Yeah, right. I can see that argument as far as I guess. So you're saying this devaluation of our currency may have played a role in the malinvestment of Walmart.
Malinvestment of a lot of things here in the United States.
Everything's
that is one aspect of it. It's something that I was thinking about too. Considering all the corporate handouts at Walmart, the big the Walter Brothers or whatever.
The wall ballers.
I like that term. The wall ballers.
Yeah, they're balling, man.
I mean, if you're a greedy capitalist and you've been running this massive multinational corporation for some time now. Granted, it's probably divided into regions and all this, different head managers and management layers or whatever.
Yeah.
But point being is that we know that Walmart and entities of the sort get a lot of money in handouts, get a lot of tax breaks, get a lot of
they're basically on welfare
kickbacks. Their overhead,
corporate welfare,
a lot of their overhead is subsidized, and it allows them to grow beyond a reasonable rate or reasonable size that would be deemed logical or wise and a good investment in an otherwise free market. So it seems like because who overshoots like 200? How many are they closing? How many stores?
I can't remember. It's a 1% or something. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's over 100. I think it's like over 200.
But anyway, I mean, I think
these numbers.
They raised the price though. I think of the pay. You know what I mean? So I think they kind of countered, right?
Well, I don't know if that would be enough to close that many stores, but I mean that definitely tells us that malinvestment on Walmart's
Oh yeah, definitely.
part.
Yeah.
Malinvestment overbuilding of stores, right? Obviously. So yeah, that could have been easily done through the devaluation of the money, right? You think you got more money before you start building a bunch of stores, and then
it's just
they've got like
154 stores that dropped.
How many billions do the wall ballers have? I mean, so I'm sure it's pretty hard to we've got a couple trillion. I mean, I'm sure it's after like the money gets so big, like eventually you're gonna have to make some malinvestments, right? I mean,
yeah, of course. Like
true.
Rothbard did point out
you don't even got it. Your calculator doesn't even go that high.
Rothbard did point out the tendency for corporations that got too large to fall into the problems that are typically seen in bureaucracies. Over budgeting or under budgeting, malallocation.
The government does that all the time.
A bureaucracy has to justify its own existence, so there's going to be points where it's going to be fudging things up just to make sure that it has something to do the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Like most things.
You got to clean something up.
Yeah.
We got robots for that now. And we got commercials here going, but anyway, they're coming up. So definitely stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. True Disposed Radio will be right back after these messages.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Am I all right? Yeah, I'm all right.
I wanna say it now, but now it's today. And love has been given to grab and enjoy. So let's all grab and let's all enjoy. It's a kiss, are you naughty?
We are live. This is Truth Exposed here this January 20th, 2016. Had a good old week. What's been going on, Rick?
Shoot, man, a lot of changes in my personal life. I don't want to get too much in details, but it's just been a tumultuous ship ride for sure.
I know. We tried to get a hold of you Saturday to come over, and we were going to get into some of this topic, and apparently you was out.
He was tied up.
Where are you?
Literally.
Though? Where are you?
They busted me at the Bohemian, right?
Are you Bohemian Grove, or did you actually go to Bohemia?
Well, they got good beers, you know. Nah, but yeah. Anyhow, guys, what's the pertinent issue? But no, work's been great. Work's been great, and you know what? The presidential speech was interesting. The State of the Union, POTUS by the POTUS, and just talking to people. Really, another interesting factor is talking to a lot of people about these prophecies that we used to talk about. You know, that we talked about a couple episodes ago. You know, all these things, the differences between futurism and preterism and historicism, and kind of just getting into it, you know, getting it out there for people for the first time. That's interesting.
I find that, you know, some people who are really invested into it, you know, it's harder, but people who aren't, they're like, oh, I kind of heard some of that. And, you know, they're a little bit easier to introduce the ideas of that. Because a lot of people, you know, it's their family and tradition and all kinds of things are creating cognitive dissonance with people.
Yeah, what's that phrase? It's not ignorance that's the problem. It's false knowledge or... Yeah, something along those lines. So...
And it's really pregnant, right, with the topic of Zionism.
It really is such a hot issue, and I really want to point out here, ladies and gentlemen, that again, I mean, it's really preliminaries here, over and over again. I mean, we can't stress this enough. You may not like the way we present things. You may not like our opinions per se. You may not like where we're coming from, but you need to realize that we're being very specific with our words and ideology and what we're trying to pinpoint here. We're not being vague, and our statements can't be blanketed to mean a whole bunch of, you know, things, a whole litany of different things. We're being very specific. So when it comes to Zionism, we, again, need to specify that there is a vast difference, a big gulf of expanse of the abyss in between what it is to be a Jewish, what it is to be Hebrew, and what it is to be Zionist. Those are three different things.
Exactly. I mean,
and as Joe Biden had said himself, you know, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. And there you can look that up, and there's video of him stating that and clarifying.
And he says, "I'm a Zionist."
Yeah, he says so clearly. And I was watching a documentary a little earlier that where a lecture and had a guy that was talking about, I believe the topic was over Christian Zionism and Islamophobia.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So it's definitely a hot topic of the day, and it seems to be all this issue that's building up that we've been talking about. I mean, obviously the turmoil in the Middle East and this big crisis that it seems we're all being dragged into as a result of it. It has some precedent. It has some. It does. It
really does. I mean, what Zionism is this belief in this state, and we're not
right.
We're not statists here.
What is Zionism? Well, Zionism is a political ideology, nothing to do with the Hebrew race, nothing to do with the Jewish religion, the Old Testament or the Talmud and all that. But rather, Zionism is strictly a political ideology that believes that the Jewish people, in this sense, people that adhere or call themselves Jewish, which is a vague statement by their standards, because you look at all the different branches of Judaism, and they believe a lot of different things. They believe a lot of different things, from the Reform to the Orthodox to the conservative to the Messianic. You know, there's different branches of Judaism, and we need to be conscious of these differences and what they really entail.
Yeah, because just like there's different branches of Catholicism, Christianity, Islam,
Protestantism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still various forms of paganism about. You know, the people have different ways of believing certain things. They'll pick and choose what they want to believe.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it just so easy and lazy just to write off and say, oh well, they're all the same?
That's really, things have been
simplified. Maybe
mashed together. I mean, people think Jews and Zionists and they're all the same thing. And
right.
And even those that would be in a particular category, you can't label everyone in that category as bad. You have to look at judge an individual by their fruits.
This is very true. Again, we are individuals, ladies and gentlemen, so you cannot try to associate what we're about to talk about with Zionism as far as being racist in any way. And you know, racism is a funny concept. Trotsky, famous dictator of the USSR, right? Basically wrote in his History of the Russian Revolution that Slav Socialism, the Messianism of backwardness, has based its philosophy upon the assumption that the Russian people or their church are a democratic through and through, whereas official Russia is a German bureaucracy imposed upon them by Peter the Great. remarked upon this theme, quote, in the same way that Teutonic jackasses blamed the despotism of Frederick II upon the French, as though backward slaves were not always in need of civilized slaves to train them. This brief comment completely finishes off not only the only old philosophy of Slavophiles, but also the latest revelations of the racists. And there's other sentences, context here that basically he associates racism with being backwardness, obviously, and he really introduced the idea of criminalizing things that would be deemed racism by the establishment, right? The establishment, those in power, the oligarchy, the party in power, right? The Communist Party in power. Bolshevik Revolution. I think there was a lot of cryptos in there.
Yeah, there really was.
Yeah, there really
was. That was a takeover.
Yeah, so it would make sense why they would then pass anti-racist legislation that would automatically criminalize any discussion on things that could be easily deemed racial, which aren't really racial.
They're very cunning and slick with that,
aren't they? Aren't they?
Yes.
Most definitely. So what is Zionism? As we were talking, it is a nationalistic and political movement of the Jews and Jewish culture that very much supports a political reestablishment of the Jewish homeland in the territory defined as the historic land of Israel. We talked about Genesis 15:18, where God gave Abraham a piece of land, right, from the great river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. This is typically known as Palestine, the land of Canaan, or the Holy Land. Now, interesting thing about Holy Land is that actual phrase only appears once in the whole Bible. The phrase Holy Land, at least in the King James, it only appears one time in Zechariah's 2:12. And when you read the context of the chapter, it actually is prophesying Messiah going into Jerusalem. So the context would very much indicate that the land was only holy at the moment that Messiah was there. That the moment that Messiah was stepping foot there. I mean, once he leaves, we don't. Our faith is not one of relics. Our faith is not one of holy, tunics and holy fragments of bones and holy crosses and holy, statues and whatnot. I mean, there is nothing holy other than God Almighty, right? I mean, that is a basic tenet of the truth. So
why is the United States serving the state of Israel?
Well, that's a big. Hey, you jumping? Hey, man.
Yeah, I know.
They are loyal going.
The DeLorean here, man.
Low blows, man. Low blows.
Yes, can't jump me to fifth gear like that.
It's just like, hey, man, why are we doing this? Why you got to spit some truth on me, man?
So, hey, and counter to what most dispensationalists will teach is that this land was known as the land of Palestine for about, 2 millennia, designated by the Romans. So, yeah, I mean, you'll hear people like John Hagee here in San Antonio say that, it was never called Palestine. It was just a made up, it's a conspiracy theory, Palestine, yeah. Palestinian, that's a conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Modern Day C.I. Schofield.
Yeah. Tim LaHaye left behind over here. We're about to get left behind on this break, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Once upon a time, your printer was not a privacy risk, but today's printers are often connected to Wi-Fi networks, making them a treasure trove for hackers. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back with details on the potential spy in your office. Next.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Hacking somebody through their printer sounds like an urban legend, but now that printers have hard drives, email capacity, and are connected to the internet, they've become attractive to attackers. Here's an example. Samsung printers sold up until October 2012 had a security flaw that lets hackers send fake faxes, copy sensitive documents, and spy on you or your company by eavesdropping on your Wi-Fi traffic. Yikes! Your best defense is to change the default password, add antivirus and malware protection, and get that printer behind a firewall. If you don't, you could be the next victim. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Looking for some truth? You found it. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
I love
Back, ladies and gentlemen, Truth Exposed Radio right here on the Logos Radio Network. It's January 20th, 2016, and we're about to delve into the Zionism topic. And there's even a Jewish movement against Zionism. You can look up Jews against Zionism, and they will come out and state clearly that it was not until the Zionist movement that there was actually a strife between the Arabs and the Jews.
Yeah. And you know what? I've showed that clip to
why would that be?
to Christian dispensationalists, you could say.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, those aren't real Jews.
Those aren't real Jews.
That's not real. That's not real
Jews to me. They're in Israel and they look like Jews.
That's not real. That's our land. And so why do it's crazy the Christian believe that that's their land too? They're like, this is my land.
Yeah, if they go there, they're going to get treated just like the Palestinians at times.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely second class. Yeah. It's crazy. It's laughable, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
but we're really getting at the origins, really, of Zionism, right?
Right.
Well,
that's where it leads
we're
to.
building up to what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, how is it that all these things are so? I mean, how is it that why exactly would certain Jews be against the state of Israel? Why is it impossible? Why did strife all of a sudden begin when Israel was put into the existence in 1948? Why was there strife all of a sudden between Arabs and Jews? These are questions that we really have to analyze and really get into here. And to do so, we need to build up what Zionism is. So we just finished talking about essentially what Zionism is briefly described as. And when did it emerge? Well, it emerged at the late of the 19th century in Central and Eastern Europe as a national revival movement called Yovivi Zion, or Lovers of Zion. Soon after this, most leaders of the movement, like Theodor Herzl, which we're going to get into here in a second, associated the main goal with creating the desired state in Palestine, which was then controlled by the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, the Sultans. You guys remember the Young Turks and the overthrow of the Sultan by another crypto?
Right, when they set up the Republic of Turkey, Western backed.
And isn't that when, in between that phase, isn't that when the Armenian genocide of 1.5 million to 2 million Armenians were totally slaughtered?
Armenian Jews were
Armenian Christians.
Armenian Christians were caught under the thumb of the Ottomans right before the Turks. You know, at a time when the very Turks were using the Armenians to fight the Ottomans to gain their own independence. But then
the Young Turks.
Right.
So yeah, the Young Turks eventually turned their back on them. And even though the Ottoman Empire admitted to the fact that they committed such genocide, of course, Mr. Mustafa Ataturk quickly erased that from the history books whenever he became the main head for the new secular state of Turkey for Western interests after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. We covered that stuff. So interesting how we're going to get into this here in a little bit, as far as how Herzl attempted to actually was seeking to buy the land that is Palestine from the Ottoman Empire at some point in the 1890s. So.
Right, and they had very close ties to Turkey. They didn't want to upset Turkey. They utilized them as much as they could. And I believe it was even I think one of the organizations of the World Zionist Organization was another one of the groups that were forming around that time, late 1800s.
Oh yeah, well I mean Herzl, he's the papi.
He's the founder, right?
He's the grandfather.
He and Moses Hess, from my understanding, a proto-Zionist around the time of 1862.
The visionary,
right. He was heavily influenced by Karl Marx, and we all know.
You don't say.
We all know who Karl Marx is.
Another German Jew.
Yeah,
right, a socialist at that.
And by Jew here, did Karl Marx I don't know. Did Karl Marx keep the Old Testament? I don't think he actually he was atheist, wasn't he?
I don't know. Maybe it's more like a Talmud.
So what do they mean exactly by is it a race thing at that point? And if it is, I don't know how you would even determine such a thing. I mean, couldn't I just call myself a Jew and then bestow and then just do whatever, write whatever, and just call people out as racist whenever they criticize me?
Did we see that one thing?
I mean, you could probably get away with it
if we all derive.
What do they do? They don't go around having DNA tests or anything for everybody, or proving it's a race.
I don't know. And I think if you do a DNA test, I think everyone pretty much comes out with some percentage.
Yeah, that's what
everybody comes out
Ashkenazi or Sephardic.
Yeah. They still don't do it anyway, but whatever. It's silly. It's silly.
What are we talking about here? Are we still on race in the world?
I'm confused.
Me too. Trying to get to that individualism.
For real.
Because there's respectable people that identified as racially Hebrew, I guess is what they're trying to say, Jewish, that we totally respect.
Hell yeah.
To the max. Murray Rothbard.
Definitely.
Of course. Sure, he wasn't fully anarcho-capitalist, but Milton Friedman,
Yeah.
He was a monetarian in the Chicago school.
Hey, man, the fruits are great.
But, halfway there. Halfway there is better than no way there.
They got good fruit, bro.
It's a little sour on the Chicago
it's grapes.
school. But
It's grapes. It's grapes, man.
That's what you make the wine with.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's what Anyway, it's a process. Humans are evolving,
schools of thought evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
And have intermediary pit stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So, who is Theodore Herzl? Well, what is Crypto Jew for 6,000?
Alex?
Born May 2nd, 1860, by a different name of Benjamin Zaid Herzl, a.k.a. father of Zionism, the visionary of the state, was an Austro-Hungarian journalist, playwright, political activist, and writer. Born in the eastern part of Budapest, Kingdom of Hungary, in a secular Jewish family, secular, mind you, not practicing. I guess this would be like your Christmas and Easter Christian or
Passover. Yeah, he'd be a Passover.
Yeah, a Passover guy. Yeah,
maybe Hanukkah when he feels right.
Right. On one of the days.
Yeah, when the wind's blowing.
So interesting secular family, not really a staunch religious background or anything like that. His father's family, they were originally from Zemuni, or today was Serbia. Interesting. And second child, German speaking, and what you would consider pretty much assimilated Jews. The looked down upon. They lost their culture, they lost their way. They assimilated Jews. A lot of them, unfortunately, because of the religious tension of the days, a lot of Jews converted to Catholicism to hide their Jewishness.
Yeah, in some cases they were forced. Yeah, in Spain.
Right. They were forced to either leave or convert, and a lot of Jewish people simply chose to convert outwardly, but maintain their inner beliefs.
Seems like they're everywhere in every religion.
Maybe, I don't know.
And that's where your crypto emphasis comes into play, is whenever they converted to a new faith, but they didn't do so. They're just practicing it.
It's a veneer. It's a veneer.
Well, it happened in like multiple regions of the world, didn't it? Where a country would force Jews either to leave or convert, and a lot of them would leave and a lot of them would convert.
Or you have in the case of the Khazaria, where they just decided to convert under pressure because they needed to. So in some cases, they say they needed to get their people more in line because they were pagan, and I believe the ruler called them filthy and such. And so he had to make a choice, and he chose Judaism, and that's where you get your Ashkenazis.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is the Eastern German Jew. I mean, Karl Marx was an Ashkenazi. Yeah, the Bolsheviks were mostly Ashkenazi Jew, Eastern German, Russian. That's just the way it is. It's important to get into these histories, isn't it? And let's not forget the fact that a lot of Edomites, that is, a lot of descendants from Esau, were forcibly converted. And I forget the date. We'll have those stats here after this break. But we mentioned this over and over again. I mean, in 160 BC, they were forcibly converted to Judaism. A bunch of Edomites in southern Judea, in southern Canaan. So
coercion is never good.
It's never good. When you mix the state with stuff, it just gets dirty, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
And plus, if you force somebody into a particular position, they're going to resent it nonetheless.
Of course.
Yeah. Some people may be into that, but
yeah. Some people are. They pay for that. Late at night.
Go let the bed bug back.
Coming up to a break. Stay tuned.
Easy.
Yeah, we back here on this Wednesday night, chilling, feeling all right, hanging out. Rick Rody here with my crew, sipping on an OE. Yeah,
that's the brew.
That brew. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in Truth Exposed Radio here. Rick Rody,
Cuddy Rowe,
Marshall Soul,
and it is this wonderful Wednesday, January 20th, 2016. Beginning of the year, guys. We got the whole year ahead of us. Let's make the best of it. Right?
Hallelujah.
We gotta make the best of this. That's all I'm thinking. We gotta put so many projects into play, into completion.
We have to what do you call it? We've got to turn it up just as fast as they're turning it up. right?
To 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to break the knob.
No, Spinal Tap 11.
There you go.
Just don't break my back.
Yeah. Doctor said I need a backiotomy.
Or my mother's back if you step on them cracks. You know, you better watch out.
Yeah. And don't split the pole either.
Or work on it.
Yeah, yeah, right. Work on it.
That's not good. What would you call it?
Twerk ethic.
That's not good, man.
Bad twerk ethic.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a good role model. It's not a good role model. Shit, we got so many things in this world going on.
For real.
The least we can do is be a decent role model to the younger generations.
Let's get them out the gutter. Let's get out the gutter. Our mind and our body. For real.
Our soul and our our feels.
For real. Yeah, get your feels out the gutter too, man. I'm tired of this.
It's too many. It's overfilling. It's overflowing.
It's clogging. It's clogging up the drain.
My cup overflows with feels.
For real.
Too much.
Lord.
Too much these days. I can't watch a commercial without tearing up. You know? It's just too much. You know.
It's true. It's true. It's getting ridiculous out there. I mean, every time I turn on the TV, I'm screaming for a couple seconds until I shut it off.
Yeah. Why'd I turn it on?
Yeah, exactly.
Switch over to a different input.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's like the Ark of the Covenant. You know, it's like in Raiders of the Ark. You know, you're not supposed to look at it. You're supposed to keep your eyes closed. You know, just don't open them.
For real.
You'll perish.
It's true.
Yeah. So, just reading up on how Herzl basically grew up here in Hungary, and you know, they were pretty.
I'm going hungry.
Yeah. I don't mind.
Yeah, it's still bread.
I sing that song every time I get hungry.
Capitalist.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, no, it's just the commie call, you know, the commie anthem.
It is. We have to, you know, joke around here from time to time because
you always go hungry in the breadlines, you know, when everything's been socialized, nationalized.
Commies are comedy.
I'm going hungry. So, ladies and gentlemen, where did all this lead?
Man, where's it leading? Look where it's going.
What got Herzl to be who he is? Well, in 1878, after his one of his sisters unfortunately passed away, Pauline, the family moved to Vienna, Austria. And at the University of Vienna, Herzl studied law. Became a lawyer. Sounds familiar. As a young law student, Herzl became a member of the German nationalist Burschenschaft fraternity.
What?
Albia, which had the motto "Ehre, Freiheit, Vaterland." Fight.
Just Vaterland. Honor, freedom, fatherland.
Yeah. He later resigned in protest at the organization's, quote, anti-Semitism. A German death cult rampant with anti-Semitism. Yeah, I don't know. Does it sound possible? I don't know.
Hey, man, it's just the way they work.
Yeah.
Get you all confused.
Weird. Yeah, that's just polar opposites, I guess. Many believe this became one of the main reasons as to his push towards political Zionism, because he saw the rise of anti-Semitic, the anti-Semitic ruler Karl Lueger in Vienna in 1895. And then also he saw the Dreyfus campaign, which is basically a captain, Alfred Dreyfus, a young French artillery officer, who was an Alsatian and of Jewish descent. He was wrongfully sentenced to life in prison for allegedly communicating French military secrets, to the German embassy in Paris. He was only in prison for 5 years, though, because he was pardoned for his. People found out it was a wrongful imprisonment. So. But nonetheless, when Herzl was there for this event here in Paris, there was an incident where during these trials, people were yelling and during these trials, death to the Jews instead of because there was like the the Dreyfus Party and the pro-Dreyfus Party, and the anti-Dreyfus Party, mostly consisting of Catholics, mind you, were chanting death to the Jews in general on the streets versus just death to Dreyfus, which is what you should be calling when there's a particular traitor, an individual.
Yeah, let's be particular. Let's not be collective. And
there's no original sin here. Yeah. Everyone's guilty for their own mishaps.
Yeah, you gotta be responsible for your own there.
But that's too hard, man. We got to go hunt down the individual and blame them and point the finger at them. We can't just all of them.
You got to blame everybody.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Don't want to hunt nobody now.
Oh, man. Just
have to prove something now?
Yeah. What?
For the law?
No, man. That's just too much time and effort and stuff.
Yeah. So these incidents led basically Mr. Herzl over here, Theodore, to write a play, since he was a writer and playwright, called The New Ghetto, which showed the lack of real security and equality of the so-called emancipated, well-to-do Jews in Vienna, in Austria, right? Around this time, Herzl grew to believe that anti-Semitism could not be defeated or cured. It could only be avoided, and that their only way to avoid it was the establishment of a Jewish state. So, because Herzl used to be very liberal in his ideas of multi-incorporation, intermingling of cultures, right? That's a pretty free idea. Hey, people should just intermingle as they see fit and free association or whatever.
But the Orthodox Jews viewed him as too secular to the traditions of the Orthodoxy.
Oh yeah, for sure, and we'll get into that in a second, as far as what the religious rabbis and the religious institution of actual Judaism has to say about Zionism, the political movement per se. But yeah, I mean,
this is in Vienna, right?
It was these events. It was these events that basically a lot of people derive the fact that, or most likely the fact that obviously you are what you experience, you are what you live. The fact that Herzl grew through lived through these situations. I mean, he even wrote a play about these situations, and he had very staunch beliefs on one end, and then changed his beliefs to another end. He went from being very inclusive, Jewish people should be very inclusive with the rest of society, to apparently seeing all these cases of apparent anti-Semitism. He then came to the conclusion that, hey, the Jewish people need a state. This is kind of given the historicist analysis on why he maybe possibly built up his ideas. Another factor of this was that he, not only a writer, a playwright, and all this, but he also, was very involved with the press. So in France, so that's important to note too. The media, involved in the media.
Oh, that's how they steer popular opinion.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Strange though that he's not not really a practicing Jew, but yet he's gonna
secular. Yeah,
he's not gonna come out and proclaim that they need a state.
Yeah, which is
he is because Herzl came to reject the earlier ideas regarding Jewish emancipation and assimilation, and two, believe that the Jews must remove themselves from Europe and create their own state. That kind of sounds kind of like what a lot of anti-Semites would promote, right?
That's that backwards.
Let's get the Jews out of here and have them go to their own place because they can't really live amongst us. It seems like they would have something in common here with anti-Jews, right? I mean, with anti-Semites, they would have a major
they're saying we can't
coexist.
We can't coexist. We need to be in this own little place of our own.
Even the initial colonies and work.
That's that backwardsness, though, that we were talking about at the beginning. It's that duality. Duality, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even the workers in the colonies over there in Palestine, when they were setting it up, they had Hebrew only work brigades. That they weren't nobody else was allowed to work with them or live in the colony unless they were Jewish. I mean, isn't that racist?
Yeah.
What colonies are you talking about here?
The colonies that were set up in Palestine, pre-Israel.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're talking. Yeah, we're
talking the late 1800s, early 1900s.
We're getting there, yeah, with the Balfour Declaration and
even before that.
Well, yeah, that's just the Queen guaranteeing that they got the.
Yeah, that's putting it down on paper.
They're backing it up, but they were already established for a while. Yeah, you're right.
Because they were already working with the Ottomans, trying to get in there. They were getting their foot in the door under the Ottoman Empire.
Mustafa was getting his foot in there,
and through the Turks,
Young Turks.
Down with the soul. Yeah, we'll tune into the Turks right after this.
Yeah, right. Listen to their rants.
Oh, geez, stuff.
Anyway, I mean everyone's got their spiel.
Yes, sir.
Everyone's got their spiel. People got itchy ears. People want to hear what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of the market, isn't it?
Hey, I'd listen to them sometimes and I'd agree with them on certain points, but they jump onto some other topics. I'm like, I completely disagree with that.
That's the beauty of the market. We can choose what we want to listen to.
Exactly.
Spend our time on.
Choose to listen to us and come back after these break.
Right. Truth exposed. Yes, sir. This is Truth Exposed, back live here on the Logos Radio Network. January 20th, 2016. I'm one of your hosts, Cuddy Rowe.
Partial Soul.
Rick Rody. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, 6 to 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Truth Exposed Radio. Please feel free to call in. Give us your take. If you think we are, whatever.
Yeah.
Onto something. If you think we're silly. We're silly. If you think that we're just trying to be hidden racist for whatever reason.
We're anti-Semitic.
That's what I mean. Like, for whatever reason, which I don't even know how you can draw that conclusion.
Since we've been laying it out anyway.
I don't know. But I mean, if that's your opinion, feel free to call in 512-646-1984. We're trying to really be, some things, in a world where everything's controlled and in a world where progressivists and, socialists and commies run everything, then everything's offensive, isn't it?
It is.
Everything's pretty much offensive.
I'm offended.
You can't talk about anything, right, without people getting offended.
I'm offended at that statement.
I'm offended by being offended.
Yeah. I'm with Marshall.
Was that?
Yeah.
I'm offended by being offended.
Yeah. That's offensive.
All we have to offend is offend itself. Yeah.
For real.
So Herzl, guys, the father of Zionism, the birther of the secular Jewish state of Zionism. Let's check out where we're at with this. Basically, we realized that he quickly changed his views after seeing these situations arise in Europe, where he perceived anti-Semitism. He came to the conclusion that Jews needed to have their own land, needed to have their own segregation. And hey, he isn't the first to promote such a thing. I mean, Malcolm X promoted the same thing for the black community here in the United States, for them to have their own territory, for them to be run by their own leaders, by their own, black leaders would run black people. It's very a tribal mentality, a very nationalistic, racial mentality, which unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, people tend to flock that way. I mean, that's one of the main things that people.
It's just human nature, really.
Kind of, right?
Old school.
A little bit.
It's really like old school,
It's like, what religion are you? And do you look like me? And what religion are you? And
it's some kind of like old traits from back in caveman days or something like.
And then it's like, what philosophies do you hold to? Starts to get a little bit
stuck
more
in your DNA to I don't know.
Starts to loosen up a little bit. And then finally, how can we do business together? I don't care what you believe. Can we do business together?
Yeah, right. Hey, man, you got some of what I want. I got some of what you want. I don't like what you believe in, but hey. I
don't even care what you believe in.
Yeah, I don't care either anymore.
I like that cheese.
Yeah. You like these grapes? We can make wine. We got wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese.
For real, man. Yeah, we could be breaking bread together instead. Everybody want to be tripping.
Everyone want to be pushing their ideologies forcibly on everybody else.
And the only way they can do that is the state. I mean, individuals can enforce upon other individuals very well. Not everybody.
Hence the state, right? Hence the state. So after he came to these conclusions about basically teaming up with the Zionist movement, that what was the gentleman's name?
Moses Hess.
Moses Hess. What a epic name, right? You got to take the name on Moses upon yourself. I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got some kind of lineage to Rudolph Hess of the
Got him.
So apparently, Herzl
got him.
Yes, apparently, Herzl immigrated to Britain in 1896, and then Herzl's editions of the editors at the New Free Press in France refused any of his publications having to do with Zionist political activities or ideology. They refused to print his stuff at first. And some people speculate that his, the fact that he was a writer, a playwright, all these different things, that he was searching for literary success, but also had a desire to act as a public figure. He wanted to be more than just an entertainer. He wanted to be a shaker. You can kind of tell by his talents. I mean,
a rebel?
Everything's historicism, right? Everything has precedent. People don't just wake up one day and become something completely different from what they were before. It takes time to build what you're good at. It takes time to build what you're promoting. So, literary success as a desire of active public figure led him to start to write pamphlets, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, on the Jewish state. That's what he would. He's a literary writer. He's promoting stuff. Why not pass out some pamphlets? We do the same.
We do the same, yeah.
Nonstop on anarchism, on historicism, whatever it needs to be.
And I believe those are the ones where he was going on promoting the idea of the many of different Jewish states. Not only was Palestine an option, but also they looked at Argentina, Uganda, Alaska.
Yeah, they looked at a couple of African, right, North African settlements.
Uganda. But one worked especially well.
Yeah, because if they go to Palestine,
had the biblical.
They've got the biblical backing and say, "Hey, look, I've got this piece of paper that says my God gave me this land, and your God says
to serve us." To serve,
and that's really a crucial point to point out especially for the Rothbardians out there. For those that are familiar with the good old Jew. Rothbard.
Yeah,
Mr. Rothbard. Yeah, I gotta love the guy. He's a genius. He's a genius. I respect him. I respect him utmost. I mean, I don't agree with everything he said or everything he did. Of course not. I don't think there's anybody other than maybe Christ that I agree with every single thing they said and did. But nonetheless, he pointed out that. What did he point out?
He pointed out a lot of things.
He did point out a lot of things.
What are you talking about? What Rothbard wasn't his first of all his economics was
on point. But I guess what I was getting at, I'm sorry. What I was getting at is in his articulation of the anatomy of the state, where he pointed out that the state is instituted through force and through monopoly. There are the few cases where it's not. It's only instituted through prestige or through perceived honor. A good example of this would be the papacy, giving political power to an entity that really hasn't militarily gained it. But it's just given to it because of its prestige, because of what it is, because of what it claims to be.
The valor.
What it claims to be. Yeah, don't steal my valor, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with the idea of, and Herzl was tapped into this very keenly. Same thing with the idea of a Jewish state. It's almost like one of those. It's almost like a utopian ideal where people are almost willing to go kamikaze.
And you can't touch it too. It's like
you can't touch it. Yeah,
if you touch it, it's like you're there's so many reasons to say you're bad for going against it. The way they use the biblical aspect. So,
which we did get into. We did get into all the different verses that they twist and pervert and script torture.
And there's for good reason they do that. You see how they've got everybody around their pinky right now.
Totally. I think it's the one with the long nail, right?
Yeah. The coke nail.
Yeah. Al Capone. No, I mean, they were trading everything, right? Weren't these people trading everything? Like pretty much everything from like humans to cash crops to everything. Anyhow, so he published many pamphlets that basically gave the foundation to the Zionist movement.
And they like to coin him as a liberal Zionist, from what I'm reading here.
I guess so. I'm not sure how they would apply that personally, but I don't know. But I guess so. But beginning in late 1895, Herzl wrote Der Judenstaat, the State of the Jews, which was published in February of 1896. To mediate a claim and controversy, the book argued that the Jewish people should leave Europe, and if they wish to, of course, if they voluntarily chose to, either to Argentina, as Marshall was bringing up, or preferably, for Palestine, their historic homeland. The Jews possessed a nationality. All they were missing was a nation state of their own, right? Of course, you got to have the politics behind it. Only through the Jewish state could they avoid anti-Semitism. Was basically the foundation of Zionism.
Boom! That's where they get the liberal, from. They're trying to say he's against anti-Semitism. So that's a liberal thing. We're against racism,
right? Of course, yeah, true.
Very, very.
I guess that's one liberal application of his views. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, false liberal or whatever, but liberal perceived.
Well, no, a true liberal, right? You don't want to be. A liberal doesn't defend racism.
Yeah, but they're not true liberals because they
promoted it, they stifled it. That's not stifled it. They encouraged it. They inflamed it.
They're very slick with their dualities, like
the neoliberal.
Yeah,
the progressivist.
It's very That's why everyone gets confused on these things. Like,
well, it's just political philosophy.
Yeah,
it doesn't really.
Well, also the control in the actions, the wordplay, they don't match up.
It's basic political philosophy.
Yeah, no, I know, but people don't dive into it and to figure and sort it out. And
you can't play a risk with somebody that doesn't know the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't play chess with somebody that don't know what each move did.
We're playing checkers.
Yeah,
definitely.
It don't work. So only basically the basic idea was that only through a Jewish state, through a nation state of their own, right, could anti-Semitism be avoided. And Jews would be free to practice their religion as they saw fit, without hindrance, without blockage, without censorship. They could have their own safe zone, safe spots.
My safe place,
yeah.
This is the origination of the safe place, safe zone. And how liberal is that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we discovered all kinds of
free
things.
speech zones are very liberal. There are areas designated to be free speech zones.
Yeah, free speech zones.
Very liberal areas.
Yeah. Oh man, you gotta love it.
Gotta love it, right? So, of course, these ideas spread rapidly through, the Jewish world in general, especially when you start reading his writings and how he basically got very influential, very powerful, very rich, very prestigious people within the Jewish community around the world to promote his ideology. I mean, it's not hard to start a movement when you got everyone back and when all the elite back.
When you got the Rothschilds balling.
They had a Congress going. The World Zionist Organization, they had set up a Congress pretty much where they had elected officials that would go and represent people from various spots of the country, and they would pay into it.
Oh yeah.
That's what's dictating the.
So, supporters of the existing Zionist movement, such as Hoive Zion, immediately allied themselves with him. But the establishment of Jewry vilified him and considered his ideas a threat to their attempts to integration and rebellion as a rebellion against God. So, I mean, sure, the political Zionistic movements of the day allied themselves with Herzl here and his very secular Zionism, but the religious community saw it as rebellion against God. The Jewish rabbis, the Jewish religious people, the sages.
The OG.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Truth Exposed Radio, January 20th, 2016. Let's see, we're getting back onto the topic at hand. That would be Zionism.
The origins.
Got the royal flush coming up over here. Top of your hand.
What, dog?
No, it's about to all make sense here, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you're probably asking, why are we getting into this guy's, bibliography? I don't want, biography. I don't want to know. I don't know this guy's life story. What's going on? Too much information here.
No.
May seem, but not our listeners, right? Not our listeners.
No, you got to preface the mindset of the individual and the topic that you're studying.
Very true. Very true. You have to. So we just pointed out last segment here how, of course, prior Zionist movements, which were already kind of heading that way, of course, allied themselves immediately with Theodor Herzl's movement. That started really through pamphlets and through just getting some funding, getting some money to pass out more pamphlets and really just bombard.
Push the message.
Yeah, in England, of course. Interestingly enough, we do have British Israelism too, stemming not a couple decades after all this, but
Rothschilds were even buying land in Palestine. What was it? The
you don't say
1870s.
Oh yeah, they started buying up a lot of stuff. Yeah, they were hesitant on funding Herzl, that's for sure. At first.
Really?
Yeah. But, man, I seem to be losing my voice here. I need a little bit of drink. Some water over here.
That's interesting that they would even hesitate. You'd think they had a lot of money for a long time. You'd think they wouldn't.
They just don't want to be backing a political radical that's going to,
They didn't know how it was going to turn out.
I guess, they didn't want the backlash.
They didn't. Yeah,
they had to make sure it's safe.
We're going to receive it.
Yeah, you got to play it safe.
Definitely. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, don't want to leave breadcrumbs, a trail or anything.
So we basically read how, of course, the Zionist movements of the day allied themselves with Herzl almost immediately. When you look at the timeline, it was just a couple of years to get a whole bunch of organizations to back you up. It's not a big deal, but it takes a lot of work. And unfortunately, ironically, if you will, interestingly enough, the religious community wasn't too kind to it. And didn't accept it too much. Hence, what we talked about earlier, the Jews against Zionism, the Orthodox Jews against Zionism. The Reformed Jews were actually initially against Zionism. They eventually caved in. And, of course, the conservative movement has, for the most part, always agreed with it. They're, as they claim, neither here nor there.
And then Christianity and Catholicism at the time was, pretty much they were against the Jews for the history that they have with one another. They weren't so beckoning to Israel as they are nowadays.
Right. And not only, of course, there's this religious tension where amongst the less educated religious folk, whether Catholic or Orthodox or Protestant. They saw the Jews as the murderers of Christ. You know, there was a lot of tension there between Christian communities and Jewish communities. But there also was, you know, if you will, I mean, obviously the Talmud, you know, doesn't take a genius to read the Talmud and realize, hey, these people are up to no good.
You know, the topics they're talking about and the various traditions that are still held through many of people, you know, when it comes to sacrificing and bloodletting. I mean, you see that the way they do the kosher slaughters.
That's not so kosher.
No, I mean, it's
not. And this may explain why so many countries really didn't take too kindly. So many European countries didn't really take too kindly to.
Yeah, there were various cases across Europe and I believe across the Mediterranean as well. You can go into it. A lot of it's, you know, it can't be confirmed or it's, you know, it's varied because this is the Middle Ages we're talking about. But a lot of children were canonized because they were a part of they were sacrificed for blood ritual and their bodies were found drained. In many cases, the persons caught were Jewish or were of that particular sect of fanatical Judaism that held the beliefs of the
Talmud and
right the older books and such. The one such case is Simon of Trent. This was a case in Italy. A 2-year-old, and March 21st, 1475, was a boy that was from the city of Trento, Italy. And his body was found in the cellar of a Jewish family, and they had hauled off 18 men and I believe 5 women. The story varies on how the body was found. I mean, some say another account was it was in a ditch, but nonetheless, what happened after the fact was, you know, they were all executed, burned, staked. And there's various accounts like that across Europe. You know, that's whether or not it happened or not, and it was them that did it. You know, we can't say for certain, but this sets the stage for the times.
Well, and really, aside from the you know, the shadowy or the inconclusive evidence of these particular cases, it's a known fact that, you know, 1492 and this is just starting in 1492. There's a lot of cases before 1492 where Jews are kicked out of different countries, but 1492 on forward, Italy, Lithuania, Naples, Portugal, Nuremberg, Navarre, Brandenburg, Prussia, Strasbourg, Genoa, Regensburg, Naples, Paraguay, Bohemia, Genoa, Bavaria, Pesaro, Paraguay, Austria, Paraguay, Wurzburg, the Papal States, the Holy Roman Empire, Brandenburg, the Netherlands, Hungary, Brandenburg in Austria. I mean, Frankfurt.
We're still the 15th century, and here's naming off people.
The Worms. All these countries have kicked out, and you know, the Jews of their nation.
A lot of Eastern Europe,
Ukraine, Poland, Hamburg, Little Russia, Lithuania, Vienna. I mean, it just goes on.
Now let's get to the 1700s.
And on. Russia, Wittenberg, Little Russia, Paraguay, Slovakia, Livonia, Morava, Kiev, Bordeaux, the Pale Settlement in Poland, Russia, Warsaw. You know, it just goes
on and on.
It only goes up to 1866.
And you know what though? And you know what? The mainstream would have you think that the reasons are just because they don't like the religion or how they look or something very
superficial.
Very superficial. They don't,
racial.
Yeah. Nothing about actual, you know,
practices or beliefs.
Exactly.
Or
like
ideologies or
beliefs would be one thing,
philosophy.
But practices and you know, once you started getting into practicing,
we'll start acting them out.
Yeah, acting out your beliefs. Yeah, then we've got some issues.
I mean, there's got to be a reason behind such feelings or animosity towards a particular group of people. I mean, whether or not they're valid or not, you have to look into it.
And you know how convenient for dispensationalists, right? Dispensationalists who throw the last week in Daniel 9 into the future in order to continue the covenant that God had with the Jews. You know, I mean, you know how convenient for them to write this off as, you know, oh, this proves that the world hates you know, God's people. You know, they just write it off as simple as that. Where
it's not that easy.
It's not that easy. I mean, there's many cases where Gentile nations were more just. I mean, just take Pilate, for example. Pilate was like, hey, I don't see any reason to crucify this man. Talking about Jesus Christ. I don't see any reason to crucify this man, to punish him. And
because of words.
And the Pharisees in the hierarchy of the religious institution of the day, of the Jewish institution of the day, yeah, they pursued it. They pressured it. I mean, to the point to where, you know, Pilate had to wash his hands and say, I'm clean of this innocent man's blood.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I had
and they said according to the scripture, they said, let it be on us and our children. Let it be on on us and our children. Let his blood be on us and our children.
That's insane that you would even be willing to put that on your progeny. Like, are you insane?
They really wanted to get rid of him.
Really wanted to get rid of Jesus.
We don't put that on their progeny. We don't put that on their...
Of course not. Of course not. They are not guilty. Anybody that... We're not the kind of people that believe white people should be paying restitution or reparations for what their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather did. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. People only should pay back what they, for the actions that they're responsible for. Now, hey, if your dad stole from somebody and he happened to give you a bunch of this stolen materials, stolen wealth, this wrongfully accumulated wealth, then yeah, maybe someone has a claim to your wealth if they can prove.
Yeah,
they can prove that.
You prove who's got your stuff. Yeah, I'm guarantee you with some Rothschilds and some crypto Jews or something like
the bankers.
The wall ballers, somebody. But yeah, definitely. I mean, you need to be able to prove.
Okay, take a right turn at the gas station, then go 2 blocks, turn left on Main, and it's the third house. Oh, hi, Catherine Albrecht here, giving driving directions that involve left turns. While I still can. Details coming up.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
A superstreet is a road where the left-hand turns are rerouted. Drivers instead have to make a right turn and then make a U-turn around a broad median. While this may seem silly and time-consuming, research shows a 20% overall reduction in travel time compared to conventional intersections. What's more, superstreet intersections have nearly 50% fewer reported automobile collisions and 63% fewer cases of personal injury. The superstreet concept has been around for over 20 years, but until now, little research had been done to assess its effectiveness under real-world conditions. Given the latest data, left turns may soon become an endangered species. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at CatherineAlbrecht.com.
You're listening to the Logos Radio Network at LogosRadioNetwork.com.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Truth Exposed here, live again. Rick Rohde.
Cuddy Rowe.
Marshall Soul.
Feel free to call in on this lovely Wednesday, January 20th, 2016, 512-646-1984.
Truth Exposed. We really try to stay away from like the feels, and it's so easy to get into just regurgitating things that we hear because it adds to whatever topic, but we really do like to speak on things that we can back up and we can prove and that are documented fact, which is not so easy all the time on some topics.
It's not, and it's never easy when you're not doing your own research. When you're not backing up everything you listen and just testing whatever you hear by what you can do on your own research, then you're already lost. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but you're already at the whim of whoever happens to catch you.
It's one of the reasons people like to say don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion is because they can't even stand on their own beliefs. They have.
Oh yeah,
it's all feels.
They don't want it to fall apart so quickly.
Yeah, their dreams will just, and then what will
vanish?
Yeah, for real.
Utopia.
Yep.
Gone.
Status utopia.
I ate my free sandwich.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
What do I do now? Exactly.
I'm in debt.
So true. So true. So
yeah.
We really try to stay, tangible. Something you can grasp onto.
Tangible, practical.
Practical. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Definitely, guys. So we just mentioned a little bit as to how the religious establishment really wasn't feeling this. I mean, everybody from the Orthodox to the Reformed weren't feeling this.
I'll bet you some money fixed it.
Yeah, money fixes a lot of things, don't it?
Yeah.
Now, something to really break down here. I encourage everyone to do a word search in the Bible on Zion and versus, of course, Zionism. Zion being the Mount of God. The holy hill in Jerusalem where the sanctuary was placed. But of course, as everything else in the Old Testament, the physical or the here earthly only represented the spiritual and the heavenly. For every earthly prophet, in some way or fashion, they typified Christ. For every prophecy about the Jewish people, it related back to Christ. I mean, when you consider what we read about the Abrahamic promises, case in point, the promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, by God himself. Paul, in many places, Galatians and Romans, but Galatians especially, attributes these promises. Galatians 3 and chapter 3 and chapter 6 attributes these promises to the fact that Christ came from the blood of Abraham, from the seed of Abraham, down the line. That's the only way the promises can be fulfilled. The only way that Abraham's seed would be a blessing to the world is when you consider Christ. So Zion in itself, though it's the mount where Jerusalem, lay, and it's the mount where the temple lay, it's a antitypical representation of the mount or the dwelling place of God in heaven. So for them to then use the word Zion to promote a political secular ideology, Zionism, is blasphemous to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean,
the least.
I don't even. Yeah, for real. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's just the way they say that they're, chosen, and
that's all they got to do. That's all they got to do.
They don't have to repent. They don't have to do anything. They could just exist and destroy and rape and pillage, and everything's fine.
Well, let's go to the source here. Let's go to the source here. In their Judenstaat, the Jewish state, Herzl wrote that the Jewish question persists, whether Jews live in appreciable numbers, wherever, right? Jews live in appreciable numbers, wherever it does not exist, it is brought in together with Jewish immigrants. We are naturally drawn into those places where we are not persecuted, and our appearance there gives rise to persecution itself. This is the case, and will inevitably be so everywhere, even in highly civilized countries. See, for instance, France. So long as the Jewish question is not solved on a political level. So he's saying that basically the Jewish people are going to continue to have strife if they don't have a political entity promoting themselves. Well, did a political entity promoting the Jewish religion end strife? Or did it exacerbate it?
It exacerbated.
Yeah.
It's not solved right to this day. It has done everything but solve the problem. Or
right.
Definitely not defused or de-escalated. It's only been turned up.
Definitely. So why were the Jews persecuted? Why is it that the fact that everywhere they appear, their appearance, there's given rise to persecution? Well, maybe it has to do something with the letter that the Sanhedrin wrote to Mr. Chief Rabbi of Spain, Chemor, the Sanhedrin from Constantinople in 1492, when the Jewish community in Spain got kicked out of Spain. The main rabbis in Constantinople wrote to the rabbi chief in Spain, Chemor, basically saying that the following, that beloved brethren in Moses, we have received your letter in which you tell us of these anxieties. They're being forced to convert to Catholicism or leave the country, right? Leave Spain. And these misfortunes which are enduring, we are pierced by a great pain to hear it as yourselves. The advice of the grand satraps and rabbis is the following. One, as for what you say that the king of Spain obliges you to become Christians, do it, since you cannot do otherwise. Just say you're a Christian. Just say the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed. It's not a big deal. As for what you say about the command to despoil you, as they say, the command to despoil you and your property, make your sons merchants, that they may despoil little by little the Christians of theirs. As for what they say about making attempts on your lives, make your sons doctors and apothecaries, that they may take away Christian lives. As for what you say for them destroying your synagogues, make your sons canons and clerics, in order that they may destroy their churches. Make your sons priests and popes.
How is this coexistence?
This very much sounds like the Protocols of Zion, which came out like...
I thought that's what you were reading. I'm like over here like, man, you're reading everything from Protocols of Zion. I didn't see that on the title.
Yeah, that was, there were many versions that came up. There was a version that came up in Germany. There was a version that came up in Russia. And then this version that you're speaking of now is just like...
the predecessor, the granddaddy.
This is like...
yeah, I initially thought you were reading the same thing, too, because I'm over here reading up on some other topic.
Well, because the Protocols didn't come out to the early 20th century.
It was discovered when it was discovered.
In Russian, whereas... And a lot of people question it as a forgery, but really this 1492 letter from the Sanhedrin in Constantinople to the rabbis in Spain is
pretty much the foundation of it. Now, regardless of if the protocols are even real, still you look at what's taking place versus what the protocols are talking about, and I say whoever's doing the protocols have been pretty successful.
And even after it's been discovered and vindicated, it's still swept under the rug, and it's like it's not there. It's
not a big deal, right? No one talks about this 1492 letter. For sure. Let's focus on the protocols, which is easily disproven, and not talk about the predecessor that actually gave rise to the protocols.
I can't do that.
Can't do that.
Somebody might find some facts and some proof.
Yeah. So it goes on here. Fifth point. As for many other vexations you complain of, arrange that your sons become advocates and lawyers, and see that they always mix in affairs of the state.
The state.
That by putting Christians under your yoke, under your rule, under your political hierarchy, you may dominate the world and be avenged on them. 6, do not swerve from this order that we give you, because you will find by experience that humiliated as you are, you will reach the actuality of power.
Are we trying to dominate the world? Are we trying to take the power from them?
Signed, the Prince of the Jews of Constantinople. Prince of the Jews. I think that's a title they gave to Yeshua HaMashiach when he was on the cross, right? The king. Oh, no, it was King of the Jews, right? It was King of the Jews. Here hangs the King of the Jews, right? Henry, right?
It didn't sound like they're trying to coexist. It sounds like they're trying to
run their own biz, right? On everybody else.
Yeah,
forced assimilation.
Go hanging 10 on you.
So we talked about all the countries that basically kicked out the Jews for whatever reason, and we're going to get into a little bit of the other details here. Definitely when we get back from our break. We're on the last segment, so definitely stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Wrapping things up. Jewish Buzz Radio.
Easy.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Truth Exposed here on the Logos Radio Network. We are live here every Wednesday as usual, 6 to 8 p.m. Phone lines are still open, 512-646-1984.
No, we probably won't take it because it's the last time.
Yeah, you already know, man. I just got to go through the whole spiel, man. It's all good. Sometimes
too much to cover, right?
Definitely.
Too much to cover.
Too much to cover. Definitely. But jam pack. Let's run through it, man. We got a gauntlet of information to go through still.
Let's do it. So basically, we covered which countries kicked out the Jews from their country. We covered a whole bunch. In fact,
we can't even
name them all. But guess what? Guess what? Where we were at, finishing up here with Warsaw and Russia and Bremen and Swabia and Bremen, Russia, Austria. Guess what? Areas in the U.S. under General Grant's jurisdiction.
Oh, you don't say.
Hey,
the Union even.
Just a little.
Wait, the guys that fought racism.
We're saying, hey, keep this
group out.
Yeah, they keep this group out. And you know what I didn't know?
Self-proclaimed group, mind you. Self-proclaimed group.
The people listening, go do your own due diligence. I heard you can go and type in, founding fathers quotes against, about Jews, and you will be very surprised.
Against the Jews, against the Jesuits, against the Catholics.
You'll be very surprised.
It's thick.
They're calling it out. They knew what was going on back then.
I think they would call it bigoted hate speech nowadays.
Definitely.
Politically incorrect bigoted hate speech, I think.
By the ADL.
Yeah.
The ADL would be saying that.
The Southern Poverty Law Center?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Created by who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Homeland Security will be tapping in to the NSA. Don't worry about it. It's for your safety.
Yeah. Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy. But, areas under Ulysses, that's grand.
The
Union. Big deal.
Hey, it's really good to hear that, people weren't scared back then to just, call a spade and say, hey, man, these people, there's some agenda they got, and maybe, it'd just be best right now to keep this.
They said the same about Roman prelates. They said that the nuns and the priests are basically, emissaries for political Rome. I mean, we can't let them in, they're acting as nice, beneficial, benevolent helpers for society.
We're anarchists, and
they're colonizing in a sense.
They're colonizing in a sense, exactly, through their charity, through the so-called charity.
So that's an aggression. That's an aggression.
It is an aggression, especially on the Native Americans.
And it
was a major aggression on the Native Americans.
People are not seeing that as an aggression. It's not mutual.
Now, granted, hey, maybe they didn't own the actual land because they never. A few of them actually homesteaded. Few of them actually homesteaded the land. Most of them were nomads. But nonetheless, it doesn't justify wiping and wholesale slaughtering of peoples. I mean, not at all. But jumping to this to really wrap up what I wanted to get at, finishing up 1866 Romania, 1880s Russia, Moscow, Bavaria, and then finally Bavaria was the first country in the 20th century, 1919, to ban the Jews in their country.
They only banned the foreign-born ones.
The foreign-born ones, right? And then finally it was of course the Nazis, right? In the Nazi-controlled area, 1938 to 45. And in Arab countries from 48, from the establishment of the Jewish state, the Zionist state on forward, Arab countries have also been like, hey, well, if you're going to treat Palestinians like second-class citizens, we're going to treat you like second-class citizens.
I mean, I would have, you can't blame them at all.
It's just eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
At that point, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing more to them. It's not like you're doing extra to what, than what they did to you. You're just treating them.
I'm raising you. Yeah.
Giving the doctor his own medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's another book quote from Mr. Herzl himself. I believe that I understand anti-Semitism, which is really a highly complex movement. I consider it from a Jewish standpoint, yet without fear or hatred. I believe that I can see what elements there are in it of vulgar sport, of common trade, jealousy of inherited prejudice, of religious intolerance, and also of pretended self-defense. I think the Jewish question is more of a social one than a religious one. Ooh, I'll repeat that one. I think the Jewish question is more of a social one, a secular one, in other words, than a religious one. Notwithstanding that, it sometimes takes these and other forms and is a national question, what can only be solved by making a political world question to be discussed and settled by the civilized nations of the world in council. Ooh,
my World Council.
Now, was this before the League of Nations, the predecessor to the United Nations? Because I know
this is before. This is 1890s, my friend.
Yeah, because I know that the League of Nations actually,
Well, they're working
after World War I.
Yeah,
this is still 20 years before the League of Nations.
They're working on the League of.
They're already planning
League of Evil.
Palestine.
Axis of Evil. The League of Injustice.
The Injustice League.
The Injustice League.
For real.
Yeah. The law has been perverted, has it not? Indeed it has. So that's an interesting quote. That's an interesting quote right there. You know what I'm saying? We need a world council in order to bring these political discussions into question, into the limelight.
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of, global warming.
Like the New World Order.
I was thinking H.W. Bush myself.
Yeah, the New World Order. We need the New World Order.
At least they're being consistent. If you believe in government, localized government, well, you might as well extend it all the way up to global government.
Well, because we can't have the states in anarchy, bruh.
Yeah, independent communities and independent counties are going to be in utter anarchy. They don't have somebody legislating over them.
It's like a bunch of automatons. And
stuff.
Stuff.
It's just a state of complete anarchy.
We can't have that.
Yeah. So here's another quote, page 6 from his book, The Jewish State. In countries which now are anti-Semitic, my view will be approved. This is Theodore Herzl talking here. My views will be approved. In others, where Jews now feel comfortable, where there's less anti-Semitism, it will probably be violently disputed by them, by the Jews themselves.
Interesting.
Why would he say that? Why would he say such a thing? So he's basically prefacing that, hey, these ideas are going to cause a lot of controversy.
Yeah, he knew what was coming.
Because the people that are against us are going to be for us, and the people that are for us are going to be against us.
There we go with that backwardsness and duality again.
Yeah, many
very slick and cunning.
Many countries were kicking out Jews, so they're looking for a place to go, and some were providing a means for them to get there.
Oh, yeah. I think they call that fool's gold.
Man, they're like the OGs of reverse psychology.
They really are. I mean, it's just power structures. It's just power structures. I mean, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, it was Rome on one hand, and on the other hand was the Jewish hierarchy, which effectively killed the Son of God. It was a unison. It was a conspiracy between the two. Yeah. Big happy.
Let's kill Christ and our whole family.
Yeah.
Wall paint eggs every Easter.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that just feels like Southern cooking right there. That's the message, right? And that just feels like a good old Christmas morning, a good old Easter morning.
Man, it's crazy, man.
So interesting. Page 6 of his book, The Jewish State. He says that the anti-Semitic countries will be more, approving of his views versus the not so anti-Semitic countries, and Jews included. It's just a crazy quote there. Page 6, definitely check it out. Another one, page 12 here in the same book. Anti-Semitism increases day by day and hour by hour. Hour, minute by minute, second by second.
I think just a side note why why his own people wouldn't approve is probably because they wouldn't want injustices done in their own name. Just saying.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, why would you disapprove?
It's easy to get people that are disenfranchised on your cause if you blame somebody for it.
And the person who's on your side already sees you blame it.
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, "Hey, man, that's messed up."
I'm doing fun with them. I'm trading. I'm dealing.
What are you talking about?
Good.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's not the problem. That's not a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another quote here, page 12. Anti-Semitism increases day by day, hour by hour among the nations. Indeed, it is bound to increase because the cause of its growth continue to exist and cannot be removed. Its remote cause is our loss of the power of assimilation during the Middle Ages. It was the Crusades that gave us this loss of influence. Its immediate cause is our excessive production of mediocre intellects who cannot find an outlet downwards or upwards. That is to say, no wholesome outlet in either direction. When we sink, this is an interesting quote, to finalization of this quote, when we sink, we become a revolutionary proletariat, the Bolsheviks. Mm-hmm. When we sink to our bottom lows, we become Bolsheviks, the revolutionary proletariat. When we subordinate officers of all revolutionary parties, the subordinate officers of all revolutionary parties, at the same time, when we rise, there rises also the terrible power of the purse.
What do the pimps say? Purse come first.
Page 12, basically saying, hey, it tends, here Theodore Herzl is saying that, hey, there tends to be a tendency in our people that when we're in our bad times, we're beheading people with Rousseau. We're over here, running Bolshevik revolutions. And in our good times, we're just, Federal Reserving it up all day.
Quote unquote, we kosher.
Yeah, we're controlling that purse.
Yes,
D, page 12, the Jewish state. Theodor Herzl, guys, the founder, the so-called father of Zionism, the modern Zionist political movement. Definitely check it out. Do appreciate you guys listening, and we're going to keep breaking this stuff down next week. Stay tuned for the Crypto Show. Stay tuned for all the other great shows here on the Logos Radio Network. Definitely check out the site, logosradionetwork.com.
Get on those archives where you can check out all the old past shows of various other guys.
Rule of law, Eddie Craig.
Oh, yeah, check out our Facebook, too. We're going to be posting some stuff up.